What up, Wade here. So I was recently just getting back from visiting one of my mentors, my business mentor, and he owns a company, one of the largest, I think it's the largest paving company in the country, worth about $300 million or so. And it kind of made me think of a cool little topic for today's video. And I'm going to call it the ladder of success. And I remember I had a client, this was kind of early on in my coaching career, to where he was focused on doing a lot of research to find a tax haven in Hong Kong. And so he's like, oh man, my business partner and I are really trying to think, should we incorporate in Hong Kong, getting a tax attorney involved and seeing what we got to do to make this work. And I said, oh wow, that sounds like a pretty interesting sort of thing there. I haven't heard about this too much. I know you can get really low or zero income tax. How much revenue is the company bringing in? And he said, oh, about, $2,500 a month. I'm like, total? He's like, yeah, total revenue for the company was $2,500 among two people. And he's worried about tax haven sort of stuff at that stage. And it really highlights how a lot of people are looking way too far down the road on if success was a ladder and you're climbing a ladder, they're looking at the 10th rung up where they want to be 5 to 10 years from now, instead of focusing on what they need to be doing for the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the year. I get long term, you want to incorporate a business in a way that you got to think about, sort of tax issues and stuff like that. But I said to him, until you're making 250 grand, 300 grand in a year, that's one of the least concerns you're going to have. And actually through us working together, he went from 2,500 to I think 25,000 a month. So he was kind of hitting that point by the end of it. But it was because of focusing on the right things from the start. And so a couple things, I guess, just from a business standpoint, until you hit that, couple $100,000 revenue range, your number one priority has to be ringing the cash register. Ringing that cash register and focusing on nothing else. Don't worry about, really optimizing expenses or creating all these processes or what are our core values of our company. Some of those things can organically be building there, but if you're not making the register ring, you're likely going to run out of runway. They call it in the startup world. You're going to run out of cash there way too quickly. And so for myself, it was cool. The reason why I thought about this is that talking to my mentor, he's using things like, okay, make sure the EBITDA of your company is growing at this much each year. And I'm like, okay, I kind of know what that means. And here's how you got to focus in. And there's some things that I take away that I'm like, okay, this is great long-term. I really got to learn more about this. But there's also things where some of that stuff I'm like, okay, catalog this for later on down the road. And what can I take away that I can utilize right now in my business? And so just out of a business context, let's kind of expand this out into any area, is that focusing on what is that thing that's one ladder rung ahead. We only have so much focus available. We only have so much mental bandwidth that we can use in a day. And if you're too busy thinking about what you want to do 8 years, 10 years down the road, you gotta, it's leading to something. It's like something, if I think again in my own business, I want to do seminars, I want to have huge events, and I don't really know any way how I'm going to promote those events. I don't know how to negotiate a seminar room with a hotel. I don't know how to put butts in the chairs. I've spoke at some of them, but I haven't done that much, and I kind of have an idea of what I would do and who I would talk to learn more there. But I don't even want to think about that because right now I got so many other things that I got to focus on, like creating content like this and getting better, making these videos better and automating the email aspect of things and automating the shit that is there right now, so that then 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, focusing on other things. And especially when you're just starting off, you want to have a long-term focus. That's where you want to be 5 years, 10 years from now. The way I look at that is like if you're in a river, the river of life, 10 years, that's where you want to be downstream. That's what you're moving towards. But once you set the direction, it's almost good to not even really pay attention to that much. Maybe you create a little visualization of what that would look like and how you're going to get there. But then come back to focus, come back to center and say, what do I got to do tomorrow? What do I got to do today? How do I set myself up to hit my 1 month goals, my 3 month goals? Focus on the 1 month and the 3 month. So if we tie this into mentorship, or networking is another good example, is that some of the coaches that I have right now, so I have the business coach, he's just like fucking killing it, getting close to moving towards being a billionaire in the next few years. My life coach, the coaching coach that I have is somebody who's worked with everyone from Tony Robbins to Richard Bandler, and that took a while to find that person. And it didn't start off that way. When I was starting off, it was like, how can I just find somebody who's got a little bit more than me? I remember for me, actually, when I was learning the dating stuff, which was kind of my first path to self-development, or the first thing that I was kind of working on myself with, I found somebody who was they were actually really good in their own context, and I didn't really know anything. And I found out the reason that they were good is because they didn't know anything about a skill set of meeting women. They just go out and have 15 to 20 Miller Lights and be so drunk that they just stopped caring about getting negative feedback, and they're just like literally slurring their words like, hey, like, you bitch, like, let's get out of here. And I'm like, oh, okay, what can I take away from this? And still in that context, being like, what's working here? Why is it working? And I came and broke it down and said, oh, it's because he's not worried about the negative feedback, and he's being more assertive, he's being more physical here. There's things I can learn from that. Whereas I feel a lot of people, they say, you know what? I don't want to start networking. There's no one around me that I can really learn from. Or I have this friend of a friend of a friend, or my dad's buddy, or some colleague, friend of a friend, like something 2 to 5 degrees separation away. But that guy might be really good at business, but he's also overweight. And his wife just nags on him all the time. I don't respect him. It's like, okay, you can't start off at the top. Not like I'm at the top. I don't have Richard Branson as my business mentor or anything like that. Although at some point I hope to meet him, hang out with him on the island there. You got to start off with go one rung on the ladder. And so what I think most importantly related to the ladder of success and looking just 1 or 2 rungs is that a lot of people are way too scattered. And they're kind of looking at the next shiny object. What's the next shiny object? Oh my God, look at, we could do 3D printing over here. And oh, I could do this business partnership over here. And oh, I have this idea for this new iPhone app. And oh my God, I could do this new YouTube channel. The more success you have, the more opportunities there are going to be. And the more you have to set a criteria of what you want to put your focus on, what you want to be best at, what you want to, first you got to dive in deep, drill deep before you go broad here, and know when to say no. Set personal boundaries of saying, that sounds really cool, but it's not about the idea, it's about the execution. That sounds really cool, it's not about the idea, it's about the execution. Get back on point and say, here's where I want to go long term. What is just this next step? How do I get to this next step? How do I get to this next step? And track that shit out week by week, month by month, and on the same wavelength there is find people that can give you the advice you need at the right time. I think that's another issue people have is they're hearing the wrong thing at the wrong time. So really kind of dive in there and say, okay, where's this person talking from? Who is he talking to? And who is this for? Is this for me at this stage of my life? That's what's going to be most important for you to really apply this and have as much leverage and effectiveness when you're moving towards your path of success. So I guess what would be cool, again, being inspired by me doing a little networking today, what I'd like to offer at the end of this, I'll put a little link below, is we have a networking checklist, and it's totally free, and I think you'd really enjoy it. It'd be a great little resource. What's awesome about it is every time I go in to meet a new person, this is the research I do of looking up, okay, did I look at their LinkedIn profile? Did I do a little Google research and see the first few pages on Google? And it goes through a checklist to best prepare yourself to have the most amazing, effective networking situation you can. So the link will be down below. That's all we got. Now, as always, enjoy.